All right, you vintage radio owners, listen up. Uh, right now, we're going to do the dynamotor. Now, the dynamotor, if you want to service it, there are some service procedures you can do while it's still in the radio. Now, in order to get into the dynamotor, there's two thumb screws, one here and one here, and I have them loosened. I have them loosened because sometimes they'll bind up when you're doing a video and they won't come out, and the whole video's no good. Now, I just did this video, and at some point I looked over and it wasn't recording anymore. Now, I know I'm not the only one who has these problems. I watch Taco Stacks, and there's two bolts on this side, and make sure you don't do this middle one. Make sure you do the ones that are just on the lid itself. Now, you undo that screw, and the lid's going to come off, hopefully, and inside you'll see a diagram. That might help you, might not. Now, down below, down here, there's a post, another post, and it has a long bolt that goes up through two spacers. Here's the bolt. There's two of them. And once you got those two out, you take this pin out. It unscrews and then it'll lift out. All right, here's a pin. They call this a hinge. All right, it's only hinges. Really, only one of these hinges, but they call it a hinge because it is a hinge. They took an actual hinge, and so now this comes out this way. You can now do the bolts that hold the dynamotor onto the hinge. All right. Now you have to remove these wires here, and these wires go down to the terminal in the front for power for the dynamotor. But I just wanted to show you this because it took me a little while, and I didn't see the two standoffs on the bottom hiding. There's two of them, and that, and I got that. Okay, now in the one video I told you there's a guy that cuts. He takes a scroll saw, a hand scroll saw. No, it's a saber saw. Well, anyway, he takes a hand saw and he cuts open the capacitors because he says they're leaking. Well, these radios have a coating on them. It feels like oil, but it's to prevent mold. Now, last night, we've had high mold in the area. I had vertigo, and then I was working on this. I bent my head upside down to get something, and when I come back up, I was a little dizzy from the eardrums and the mold. This thing smells, but that's what can happen. These things always smell because they've been sitting somewhere, but it didn't help. So anyway, back to the radio. You swing this open, and the coating that the guy he thought they were leaking. Don't touch those oil-filled capacitors until you start troubleshooting the radio. They may not be a problem. I'm making sure she's still recording. When people do a dim bulb on a radio or a varactor, if they bring the power up slowly, they're worried about the capacitors that are in the power supply. This is a dynamotor. You spin this up, what could happen is a mechanical failure because it needs to be lubricated and serviced. It doesn't have the type of capacitors that have to reform. Also, if you have the unit that it would be a BC344, it has a power supply in it with capacitors. That just changed the electrolytics. They're going to be bad. Don't waste your time bringing it up on a dim bulb or whatever. But you want to build, in most cases, you're not going to get that BC344. You're going to end up with a BC314 or 12. Remember, the BC12 doesn't have the AM broadcast band. You might want that. If you don't want an AM broadcast band, don't care about it, get yourself a BC348. They're more common. They're lighter. They have things going for them. You can bring the power into the back. With this thing, I don't know where I'm going to drill a hole. I really don't want to drill a hole, but we'll see as I progress on this. But I just wanted to tell you, show you what I bump into as I go along, because my videos, I want them to be different than the other guy. The other guys, They sit there, and the guy had 3 different BC348s, and he's deciding which one to work on. Every capacitor in that BC348 is bad. So he never addresses that. Now I addressed that. I showed you how to cut the top lead, grab the capacitor, move it up and down until the bottom lead breaks off. But before doing that, you really should put the new cap on the front surface of the terminal strip, where you can get at and you can solder. But I sit there and I think about things sometimes 4 or 5 hours before I make a video. Where the other guy, he's making content so he can make money. I don't make money with these videos. I'm not signed up to make money with the video. And that's why I had a bunch of trolls. When I got near 1,000, they were coming out of the woodwork because they were jealous. Oh, look, he's got 1,000. I can't get 1,000 people. Well, you got to have content. And this is sort of my hobby. If I work on a radio during the day and think about it, I sleep better at night. So this is basically therapy. That's what you have to understand. I do this not because I want to, and I wish I could medically write these radios off, but I don't want to play that game. But I just want to show you that it does have a hinge. It does swing out, because if you try to get those bolts over here, you'll pull your hair out. But that's how it's done. I think that's it. All right, that's it. I hope it's still recording.